Hey everybody, it's me, Alice Blue, and I'm back, and I've got more patch notes for you. These ones are kind of a big deal. Um, we we've had some changes. We've had some significant changes. Um, so yeah, let's go get into it. Let's go see what it's about. So these patch notes are for Wednesday, September 21st. What's new? This week we introduce the next crafting overhaul. Any crafting professions, not gathering, you had previously will still exist, but must be forgotten as there are no longer associated recipes. Outside of that, we are adding NPC hard leashing, a few miscellaneous fixes, and monolith costs. We are seeking focused feedback on these items this week. Did the performance adjustments made have an impact on your performance? Do you notice any visual quality difference from us lowering the quality of some post-process effects, adjusting the shadow cascade distances, and adjusting zone fog quality? Have you encountered NPC hard leashing? If so, what are your thoughts? Thoughts and comments on the crafting restructure. Bug fixes and improvements. Launcher updates. Updated to build 82 can be seen in the upper left corner when the Options tab is pulled down. Added a few new concept pieces to the cycle. Code fixes to download methods for more reliable file downloads. Enabling data compression on launcher files to slightly reduce the launcher's size on disk. Tech. Fixed when forgetting a profession and picking another one, sometimes it would not allow you to harvest with the generic error message. Fixed AoE distance checks were not playing by the same rules as single target distance checks. They should now be consistent. Fixed issue where swapping out a weapon would negate the stats of something equipped in the opposite hand, i.e. swap short swords with a banner equipped. Fixed NPC interact on hail triggering when too far away. Fixed misc issues with saving and updating custom resolutions. Reduced maximum range on camera impulse sources. This should slightly dampen the effect of large creature footsteps. Performance adjustments. Reduced shadow resolution on most light sources. Reduced shadow cascade distances for all quality settings. Reduced shadow cascade count for potato and performant. Increased shadow cascade count for high fidelity. Reduced quality of scene fog. Reduced quality of AO and bloom post-process effects. Enabled dynamic render pass culling optimization. Environment and art. Meadowlands nav mesh rebaked to properly account for the river. Fixed female scale greaves were not showing on the right leg. Scene fog, not localized areas for New Haven Valley, Northreach, Meadowlands, and Redshore will dissipate as the sun rises and will be much less prominent around noon. It will stay this way until later in the evening when fog will build back up through sunrise. UI. Striker abbreviation is now STK instead of STR to avoid confusion. Reagent tooltips now state which ability they are consumed by. Fixed issue that was causing button click zones to be off when running in windowed mode and with multiple monitors. Group member direction indicator has been replaced by a rotating GPS marker just below and to the right of their portrait. Quests. Fix various errors in dialogue. Fixed Bulgar quest not progression past the first reward. Fixed typo in Sergeant Fastlock's dialogue. Design. Added merchants to Redshore. Fixed flax cloth material category to correctly be listed as linen cloth. Fixed open wounds not requiring combat stance to execute at higher levels. Added mandrake creatures are now showing up in Meadowlands and Redshore. Second Lieutenant exile name shortened to Second LT. Ruptures have been spotted in Dryfoot and Redshore. That's awesome. Now I can go properly fill up my Emberstone in Dryshore. Dryshore? Dryfoot. Hotfixes from last weekend. Minor code changes attempting to fix things where loot rolls are not triggered. Exile sentries reverted to use long-range sensors. Fixed a bug where players would sometimes show as offline and could not be invited. Fixed a bug where some discovery quest objectives were not triggering properly. Added merchants to Meadowlands. Added scale armor visuals. Fixed some random server exceptions. New stuff. NPC leashing updates. NPCs now have 2 types of leashes. The first is a soft leash, which is only triggered when the NPC has no targets and wanders outside of their intended range. This has been present for a long while. This week we are adding a second hard leash, which is based on the distance from the point a valid target was acquired. While resetting, the NPC will move very quickly, regen at an accelerated rate, and avoid all incoming damage. In theory, you should only encounter this behavior when running for a long while from an NPC. Please let us know how this works out. I can tell you from Wednesday's test so far it works out pretty dang well. Crafting profession revamp. The original 3 crafting professions have been depreciated. Your character will still have them, but you will no longer have any recipes associated with them. You'll want to forget these and pick up one of the new ones. There are now 8 crafting professions. Light weaponsmith, most one-handed weapons, everything but daggers, and small to medium-sized shields. Heavy weaponsmith, most two-handed weapons, everything but quarterstaves, and large shields. Woodworker, all ranged weapons, quarterstaves, and wooden versions of small and medium-sized shields. Visuals may still be metal. This is a work in progress. Tailor, inner armor, everything but belts and banners. Leather worker, leather armors and belts. Armorsmith, metal armors. Provisioner, food, drink, potions, tools, ground torches, and repair kits. Repair kits, you guys. Freaking repair kits. Tinkerer, jewelry, daggers, and throwing knives. Recipes are split between basic and imbued. Basic versions have no flux component and are accessible from vendors. Imbued versions require flux and are found in the world. We are still working through the design of how we want to implement augments for weapons and armor, but you can expect to see those soon. Alright, monolith costs. There are currently 5 overland monoliths, resulting in 10 unique connections between them. The cost to use each connection is proportional to the distance traveled. When right-clicking on a monolith, it will now say Cost to Zone, and the button will be enabled and disabled depending on if you have the appropriate amount of Ember Essence. The presentation of these costs needs some love, but I wanted to get this in sooner than later. Here's a table of the current costs for reference. So like if you are in New Haven Valley, you want to go to Northreach, it's only going to cost you 5 because it's not very far. But if you're in New Haven Valley and you want to go to Red Shore, it's going to cost you 25 because it is really far. Now, of course, the Emberstone can only hold up to 100 essence. Right now, that may or may not change in the future. The whole point is to get the system in to be tested to make sure that the system works and see how it feels and all of that jazz. Alright, shader updates. The tool we use for custom shaders should be getting an update this week, which should resolve some lingering rendering issues, the most prominent of which is the spiderweb flickering. New patch server. We're working on improving your patching experience by moving everything over to a content delivery network, or CDN. This should give more reliable download speeds throughout the world and be throttled far less often. New compression algorithm. We are in the midst of trying a new compression algorithm for the project, which has so far reduce the size of the client by a considerable amount. Ideally, this should result in smaller and quicker patches. However, due to this new compression algorithm, some of the individual files have become much larger. This means we have some work to do to break these files up a bit more to avoid you having to download the same large files for minor changes. Okay, let's go find the weekend hotfix. Fixed Skybox getting stuck. This was happening after a camera cut event, which was any time you teleported, ladders, giving up, etc. The Skybox would basically get stuck for as long as you had been playing in that zone, up until that point. But this should no longer occur. Yay! Woohoo! We found the Skybox bug. That's amazing. Fixed server-side crafting exception. Fixed a number of consumable recipes were outputting the wrong item. Updated Tinkerer role description. Added tools to provisioner description. Added missing recipes to the recipe merchant. Enabled a tech called map streaming, which should significantly lower GPU VRAM usage. On my machine, VRAM usage dropped roughly 2 gigabytes. This will vary depending on where you are in the scene, how many players and NPCs are around, and other factors. But overall, this should decrease the GPU VRAM footprint. Let me know if you find any rendering oddities. And that's it, guys. That's the patch notes. Yeah, so the crafting updates are always really rough at first, but they usually always end up being worth it, worth the headache of having to redo shit, because ultimately it ends up being better in the long run for the changes. So while it's really annoying, yeah, we have to forget our, in my case, level 30 crafting profession and start all over. While that is really annoying, I think it's going to be great that we have more variety and more clear direction when choosing, which craft we want to go with. And we'll have to work together better with, our group mates and our guild mates to make sure that we're covering all the bases and that everybody's, got what they need. Really glad to see the Skybox bug got fixed. And yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and I really hope to see you in game.